Hello everybody and welcome back to the UK Premiership. My name is Munchables and joining me once again is going to be Andy Verius Day, and we're here for our second game in the best of three between the Terracotta Army and Team Paria. Verius, talk to us about what has just happened.
It was a very great game coming out from TCA. They played it almost perfectly. They capitalized on the over-aggression coming out from QT Bacon Piggy. Once they had the lead from the ridiculous amount of ganks that came from Raisins up in the top lane, they used great vision control to push into the enemy's half of the jungle. They then used that to steal away neutral objectives, force picks around the map, and basically force Team Paria to play around them. It was so difficult for Team Paria to come back, and it really wasn't helped by the fact that QT Bacon Piggy was just too over-aggressive. I really want to see him back on his Ahri champion that he used to play so much back in the qualifiers, that he was pretty much renowned for. He was drawing target bans for it, as well as doing earlier in the Premiership. As well as that, I just want to see Flash back on the Hecarim, you know? Maybe we'll get to see a bit of AD Cat this game.
Maybe we will. I mean, it was banned out from him last game. He wasn't able to play that renowned AD Katarina that we've seen from him, which, honestly, when I started my career as a caster, I didn't expect to be saying his renowned AD Katarina at any point, but there we go. He forced out a ban last time. We'll see. I feel like they need to change up the strategy here for Paria. They need to get Flash fed. He seems to be their major carry, and they need to try and somehow facilitate that. And Rumble isn't necessarily the best purely on the basis that he can be camped so easily. Once that Flash is down, you have so little means of escape.
Yeah, it was just very unfortunate for Flash. QT Bacon Piggy was not in a favourable matchup. Sean was just bullying him out very early on with the Victor. And same for Jackamaka and Bartiona being on that Tristana and Tahm Kench. They were just constantly shoving Byakko and Elements under tower. They were always winning out on trades because of this Tahm Kench. Very difficult for a Morgana to trade back with him. And that just meant that Flash, he was doing well in lane, you know, he was holding his own, but Raisins just decided, oh, you're doing relatively well? Yeah, well, we're going to come change that.
Not anymore.
The ever-living daylights out of Flash. So, very unfortunate for him, and hopefully he can have a slightly better this game. Hopefully Wigo can have laners that don't fall so behind so early on, so he can set himself up some ganks and help his laners out too. But it's all going to be about how Team Paria choose to play this draft phase, what champions they decide to pick, and I'm hoping that they just pick slightly more lane dominant champions, stuff that can hold their own and is a little bit safer to play.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to be curious about here is, obviously we saw last game the Gragas was first picked by TCA. Now, obviously it did work out for them, but do you feel like Gragas is that valuable of a pick to be the first pick in the draft here?
I think for Wigo, he would be more comfortable on something like the Rek'Sai. It's not that he had a bad game on the Rek'Sai, it's just that he wasn't really able to do anything. And taking away the Gragas from Raisins, I don't think would have a massive impact. I don't think that Raisins is so unbelievably good at the champion that it needs to be denied from him. But it could very well be worth the first pick. I think it's a tough one. I feel like they should try and get the Elise. I think Elise is a very strong jungler at the moment that would complement Wigo in trying to get off early ganks because of how great she is at setting up those early ganks with the cocoon and with the high base damage that she has. But I can't see TCA handing that one over, personally. And even if they do hand that one over, then it means a lot of other picks are available. And as I said, that Elise is going to be banned, and with the Rek'Sai gone, I do expect the Gragas to come out for the side of Team Paria.
Yeah, it is going to be available. We'll see what they do go for in this first pick. Tahm Kench has been benched for this one. Obviously, we saw Bartiono using that one to great success in the last game. So many times we'd see a Morgana Dark Binding connect, and immediately, whoever it was that was caught out just gets taken away by the Tahm Kench. The Frog just walks them out. And there it is, the Gragas first pick is going to be locked in once again. So this time we're going to see Wigo with that Gragas. He's going to be able to use that aggressively in the early game potentially, and we'll see if he's going to be able to replicate that pressure that we saw coming out from Raisins up in the top lane last game.
Yeah, it would be nice for Flash, I imagine. I'm sure he would love to have a bit of jungle pressure coming his way.
Feeling a little bit neglected.
Yeah, could very well be feeling. But like, yo, jungler, we're about to at. But it's a little bit difficult because let's talk a little bit more about Wigo. This guy was drafted in pretty much as a sub. He's not really a jungle main. It's not his go-to role. It's quite fortunate at the moment that the jungle champions are somewhat limited. There is not a huge diversity in what's available, and so it's quite easy to pick up these fairly straightforward champions like the Gragas, the Rek'Sai, and the Elise. And I think it's okay for him, but you could sort of see that in his jungle pathing last game, not really having an awareness of what to do when being put under the sort of pressure that Raisins was applying. So the fact that he's not on his main role could be a large reason as to why he isn't quite able to perform at the same level as Raisins. But now that he has this Gragas available to him, he could look to set up this early pressure, but it will be tough when Raisins is going to another one of his comfort champions. That Lee Sin is something that he is very good at, very talented at, and that's just going to even further facilitate this early aggression that is available to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be interested to see what top laner is going to come through here for TCA. Obviously, the support and jungle, both relatively squishy champions. I mean, you can build them tanky, but typically that isn't seen as much. I'll be interested to see whether they go for something incredibly tanky up in that top lane. But over on the side of Team Paria, we have a champion locked in that very, very rarely gets through the ban phase. We've got a Gangplank here for Flash.
So, Gangplank. He received a couple of nerfs recently. His base stats have been reduced, as well as some of the changes to his parlay mean that he's sort of reduced in popularity, but he's still a very strong champion. His laning phase and his early game is now a little bit harder. You can punish him a little bit more, but if you don't punish him, he's still that mid to late game threat. He's going to prioritize the Trinity Force, he's going to transition into the Affinity Edge, and he's going to be a massive threat for his team. And this is the sort of champion I wanted to see coming out from Flash. We talked about how he is a carry. That is his job. He likes to win his lane, he likes to run away with the game, and on that Gangplank, that's going to perfectly facilitate that playstyle. They're also currently hovering over the Ari, and this is exactly what I wanted to see from Cutie Bacon Piggy. They're going to lock it in, and this is great. I think this is a much better composition for Team Paria that complements their aggressive style. They can get away with making these aggressive plays in the early game. They're going to be on relatively lane dominant champions, so they're not going to get shoved around as hard, meaning Wigo can look for those ganks and help his laners out. I think this is a much better draft phase for Team Paria, but you can't forget what's coming out from the side of TCA. Jakamaka is going to be moving back onto this Sivir. This is another one of his comfort champions, very utility based, very much providing for his team, and with that Riven locked in, it makes a lot of sense. You know, this game, they're not going to be looking to have Jakamaka be the carry. They're going to be like, alright JB Dutch Jones, you had a great game on the Renekton last game, we're going to give you Riven this game. And Sean, I imagine he's going to be on something as equally aggressive to match the Ari coming out from Cutie Bacon Piggy. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a LeBlanc come out from him, and I think this should be a lot more of a bloodbath game between these two teams.
Well, as you say it, the LeBlanc going to be hovered over here. We'll see what they do opt to lock in here. I want to see them lock in like Renekton or something and send Sean mid with Riven. I want to see the Faker-esque plays. But really, really strong engage comp coming out here from Team Paria. Take a look across here. Not Cutie Bacon Piggy. The Gangplank going to be able to use his ultimate to close the gap, slow everybody on the enemy team down. In the meantime, you've got a Nautilus, you've got Gragas, you've got Ari, who are all going to be able to jump forwards. Would not be at all surprised to see Righteous Glory coming through. But then at the other side, you have a composition that can very easily kite back with that Silver ultimate.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting simply because of the differences between this game and last game. Last game, neither team really could start off a fight. They had very little engage. They had very little way to actually say, right, I want to go now. I want to kick this fight off. We're in a good position. It was always a matter of capitalizing upon the opponent's mistakes. And more often than not, it was TCA capitalizing on Cutie Bacon Piggy just being out of position from being too aggressive. Right now, though, it's going to be very much more team fight orientated coming out from Team Paria. They're looking for these mid game fights. They have the Trinity Force. I imagine they're going to go Morellonomicon into something like the Luden's Echo and Cutie Bacon Piggy. May well go for the Death Cap as well. But they have, again, mid game power spikes. But this time, their laners are a little bit stronger to facilitate getting to that point in the game. Meanwhile, TCA running more of a pick style comp. They're going to Civet works very well in these pick styles simply because you can use that on the hunt to give your entire team a quick movement speed, try and catch someone out of position, and quickly take them down to create a 4 versus 5 scenario. I think that's very good when you know Cutie Bacon Piggy is renowned for being over aggressive. So having a pick comp against a team that's renowned for just being caught out a little bit too much of position, then I think that's very smart coming out from TCA. But their team is very heavily focused around Raisins making these plays. He needs to get Sean ahead. He needs to get JB Dutch ahead. The bottom lane, not so much, but it's just, you can see TCA very much revolving around this top and mid lane, getting those early leads, and then using that pick potential to run away with the game.
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about here on individual lanes is this top lane. Now, we have what looks like on paper an incredibly fun matchup, Gangplank against Riven. How do you feel this one pans out? Because it's not something we get to watch very often.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough lane to call, simply because I'd argue that it's quite skill reliant. I think that Riven naturally has the advantage because of her incredibly high base stats, and with the recent nerfs that have come out to Gangplank, it makes his laning just that little bit harder. But I don't think that it's so heavily in favor of Riven that she's just naturally going to win the lane. I feel as though there is an element of skill between these two champions that could result in either one of them coming out ahead, but it is somewhat in favor of that Riven, simply due to the fact that you have all those, the ridiculous base stats that can come out from Riven, as well as the support coming out from a Lee Sin. In the 2 versus 2 scenario, I'm going to give it heavily in favor of TCA, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will swing that way, because I feel as though this game, Raisins will be looking to put more pressure on the mid compared to what he did last game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if the mid pressure does come out, in either way, it is going to be a snowball. LeBlanc versus Ari. If either of these guys gets a kill, they are going to just skyrocket in damage. And when both of these champions finish that first item, the damage spike is absolutely ridiculous. I'll be interested to see what first item these guys opt to go for as well. Interestingly, Sean opting to run the Ignite for the lane here.
Yeah, and he just wants to be more aggressive. I talked about how in the past I've been destroyed by his LeBlanc, and it is a scary thing. You have so much pressure on the lane simply due to the amount of damage you have available from your Sigil of Malice combined with that distortion, and with an Ignite on top of that, it just increases the lane pressure. But this is the great thing about teleport. It can facilitate that. Okay, you get chunked out level 2, level 3 by the LeBlanc. That's fine. You can just go back, buy yourself another Doran's Ring, get a few extra pots, and then you're fine again. And now you're all of a sudden the one that has the advantage in the lane, because if LeBlanc goes back, she's going to lose a lot of farm, she's going to lose a lot of experience, and then all of a sudden the lane swings back in Cutie Bacon Piggy's favor. So I like this teleport pick coming out from Cutie Bacon Piggy. I think it's very smart, and I feel as though Sean maybe should have done a similar thing. I feel as though you can still get that same level of pressure in the mid lane without having that Ignite, but Sean's feeling pretty confident. He feels that he can actually take a kill, out of gate Cutie Bacon Piggy. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But I really want to remind the viewers of how important this next game is, because loser of this is actually sitting at the bottom of the table of the whole bracket. And, right now it's pretty much divided into bottom 4 all fighting against each other, and the top 4 all fighting against each other. And with these bottom 4 teams all fighting for as many wins as possible, and we talked about how M&M looks scary, it is very likely that the team that loses all their games in the bottom half will end up going up against M&M, and we've talked about how strong of a team they look. Nobody really wants to be in that position.
Yeah, absolutely not. You do not want to be the bottom seed as you head towards that promotional tournament, towards those relegations. But this is going to be all on the line here for Team Paria. They're looking to keep their place in the Premiership at this stage. They're just scrabbling to try and get some points on the board for themselves. And now we immediately see them going for a very aggressive start. The flash coming out from Jakamaka. Elmins just walks up, throws down that dredge line, and he's going to be very happy with that start.
Taking a flash away from Jakamaka is a great way to kick the game off. And they already have a somewhat of a favorable matchup with the Tristana being able to shove quite well. Naturally, Sivir can shove herself, but now without that flash, you're going to be significantly less inclined to do that. Why would you want to put yourself in a position where Wigo can just walk around and set up a gank? Obviously, you still have the Thresh in the lane, so you can just take that Dark Passage out if you need it, but that does mean that the side of TCA's bottom lane is going to have to play a little bit more passively during the early stages while that flash is unavailable. So, yeah, these Krugs are going to be a little bit harder to take, having skilled Dredge line first, but still, nice advantage gained for the side of Team Paria in this early game.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're going to be seeing pretty standard starts coming out here. Going to have both of the bottom lanes starting off with their Krugs and Gromps, and up in the top side of the map, we're going to see JB and Raisins starting off with the double jungle, and likewise we're going to see the same from Wigo and Flash here. So very typical beginnings to this game.
So I just want to come back to this mid lane matchup because Sean now, last game he was on the Victor, and I was talking about pretty much all game about how he's, as a player, has changed his playstyle. He's not about winning his lane anymore, he's more about providing for the team. But after that last game, after he feels that QT Bacon Piggy is a player that over-aggresses, he feels that he can revert back to an old playstyle. He can go back to playing hyper-aggressive up against QT Bacon Piggy's Ahri, and I wonder whether or not that'll punish him, because he played very smart, very calculated in the last game, and it would be a shame to see him go back to that old tendency of being too over-aggressive himself. So I want to keep an eye on this middle lane and also that top lane. This Gangplank versus Riven matchup is going to be an exciting one, and it's going to be largely down to who can set up those early ganks to try and facilitate the lead in the lane.
We'll see which way that one is going to go in the end. QT Bacon Piggy has been chunked out relatively low. First one to use a pot in this mid lane here. Obviously he is Ahri though. That passive is going to offer a whole lot of sustain during the laning phase. You are going to be able to top yourself up as Elmins actually gets caught up by a hook. Not too much going to come of it, but a nice chunk of damage onto him. That is going to blow yet another health potion. That's potentially a sign of things to come. Bartiono obviously able to land those hooks, sort of thread the needle for that one, but it's going to be Jakamaka landing the hook, or getting hit by the hook there. And Barciono's goes wide, spams out the Mastery emote there. Beautiful stuff. But nothing going to come of it in the end, as we see both junglers now finally arriving. Raisins having to flash away. He's going to be slowed down as QT Bacon Piggy is going to look for the charm. Raisins should be able to walk away from this one though. And after all of this, not a whole lot going to come out here.
And notice the difference between this game and the last game. It's now Byakko and Elmins that are shoving Jakamaka and Bartiono under the tower. A large part of this is due to the lack of flash available on Jakamaka, but with Elmins constantly landing these hooks and Bartiono and Jakamaka being unable to trade back, it's a very nice laning phase.
Oh, QT Bacon Piggy in so much trouble. There's the ignite, and there's the first blood for Sean 17. That was so beautifully played. Used the distortion to dodge the charm, and then as he gets slow, immediately Raisins is on the scene, gets a max range Sonic Wave. Really nicely played.
And this is Sean's aggression being supported by Raisins. I really like this combination between the two. Cutie Bacon Piggy once again going for an unfavorable trade. He gets shoved up in the lane a little bit too... He's too far overextended in the middle lane, and that means that Sean feels he's in a good enough position to set up for a trade. And knowing that Raisins was nearby, he knew that he could get that kill off. And this is a great start for Sean on this LeBlanc. That ignite is now working out for him, after the fact that QT Bacon Piggy is forced to use that teleport very early. Sean now with the level advantage, with the item advantage, is in a great way to start running away with this mid lane.
Yeah, he certainly is. And I love this positioning from Jakamaka. He's standing exactly where Elmins could go for a hook, but he's well aware that he's got his spell shield available. Just trying to bait that one out, trying to steal a little bit of mana away. As we see Sean just getting a nice little bit of harass down in that middle lane. Going to get caught out by the Orb of Deception though, so traded relatively evenly by QT Bacon Piggy. And obviously that is where the teleport comes into play as well. If you take a look at the CS, while QT Bacon Piggy is behind, he should be a lot further behind after that death, but he's able to get away with it with that TP.
Yeah, he really is, and this is one of the great things about teleport. Right now, the cutie bacon piggy taking so much damage.
Oh, the flash knockup is going to land onto Sean, who's looking to finish off Bacon Piggy. They're onto the wrong LeBlanc. No, they're onto the right LeBlanc. I'm on the wrong LeBlanc, and he's going to go down. Raisin's arriving at the last second, but not quite there in time. And actually, he's going to get chunked out. Wigo deciding not to commit to that one, though. And they're going to be happy with that one kill that they've picked up, and it's going to sort of even out the mid lane a little bit.
Yeah, so this time it's Sean 17 that gets punished. I was actually just thinking to myself, Wigo, I want to start seeing something come out from you. And as I'm thinking it, he sets up a gank in the middle lane. I like the fact that they punish Sean for being overextended in the lane. He only has his distortion available. He doesn't have that mimic distortion that he gets at level 6. Cutie Bacon Piggy manages to land the charm. He gets his damage down. With the flash follow-up coming out from Wigo, enables them to get a return kill in this middle lane. So Cutie Bacon Piggy now in the favourable position. He's now got the level advantage. He probably isn't going to go back anytime soon. I think he wants to wait a little bit longer so he can buy a significant item. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like an Abyssal actually come out from relatively early, but we'll have to see what he decides later on. But I do like this coming out from Team Paria, changing their early game up just a little bit so that TCA don't have quite the same lead that they had in the last game.
Yeah, this time, instead of 3,000 gold, they're only 300 gold ahead. So much more even start to the game here for Team Paria. Able to stay in this one for a little bit longer. As we see, the CS leads are starting to build across the board. Actually, Bartiono getting incredibly low. They can't quite finish that one off, though. But if you take a look across the board, 10 CS lead once again for Sean in that middle lane. Almost 10 CS lead up in the top lane as well in favour of JB Dutch Jones. So they are doing a fantastic job of CSing. Down in the bottom lane, much more even this time. With this composition, you can see that Paria having so much more success, but we see Raisin steal the blue buff away with a Sonic Wave. And in the meantime, Elmins went down in the bottom lane.
That was a very strange play coming out from Elmins. He had no mana, he had about half his HP, and he just walked up to Bartiono, who was rather low, looking like he's trying to set a play up, but then he pretty much gives a free kill over to the side. Right now the Raisins could be caught out.
Yeah, he certainly could. Wigo going to be kicked away by that Dragon Rage. Raisin's trying to use him to escape, and he's going to be able to jump to JB, who's going to flash in, gets the stun down, and Sean's arrived as well. Flash, you're going to go down as the double kill comes across for JB Dutch Jones, which, if you are Team Paria right now, that is not good news.
All of a sudden, Team Paria, it looked like their early game was going better, but it comes back to this over-aggression. They feel as though they're in a great positional advantage to aggress onto Raisins in his own jungle, but they didn't realize that Cutie Bacon Piggy wasn't in a position to follow up. Sean got there almost immediately. The flash engage coming out from JB Dutch Jones immediately swung that fight heavily in their favor, and they just didn't respect the collapse coming out from the rest of TCA. It just shows the communication difference between these two teams. TCA explaining exactly what the situation is, the rest of TCA responding appropriately to help their jungler out, and then big advantage once again gained for TCA. Team Paria, you guys need to slow things down because your over-aggression is going to be the result of you losing this series.
It certainly is. And we'll see if they're going to be able to hone that in a little bit. Just reel it on in and maybe play a little bit safer. Wait until they can work as a team a little bit better. Make sure that they're all in a position where they can go for these fights. And it's going to be the blue buff going across. It was Sean that got it in the end there, so mid laner and jungler having them for TCA, and Cutie Bacon Piggy once again going to be starved of that.
The thing is, for Team Paria, they have, you could see it, their laners are doing well. They just needed to keep farming, keep ramping up. Trinity Force, wait for that item on the Gangplank. You wait for your first major item to be completed on the Ahri. You wait for the Infinity Edge on the Tristana, and you've got a good mid-game composition that should do slightly better against the composition from TCA, especially around these dragon areas. All you have to do is be patient, which Team Paria just don't seem to understand.
Jakamaka gets caught up by the dredge line there, able to spell shield the depth charge though, and takes the dark passage on out to safety in the bottom lane. So a lot of abilities used for very little gain there coming out from Elmins. Not quite able to find the hard engage that he was looking for. And we go hanging around this bottom side of the map, maybe wanting to make something happen here. But if you take a look, there is a red ward in this brush, so he will be spotted out as he enters that bottom side. And now Flash here, he's going to get caught by the Dragon's Rage. Do they go for the tower dive? That's the question. The answer is yes, as Flash turns it around, and it's going to be Raisins going down. Flash, for the second time in a row, gets an outplay underneath his tower.
Oh, but Sean goes very aggressive onto QT.
Yeah, QT Bacon Piggy gonna have to Spirit Rush out of that one in the end. Trying to do what he can, but he jumps forward. Sean tries to punish. Can't land the chains, though. If he had, that would have been a kill. Never lucky summoner. But he's gonna have to walk away without the kill. He is gonna force Ari back to base, though, but it doesn't matter because teleport exists.
So, a couple misplays coming out from TCA. I was harping on about how good their communication is, and then all of a sudden that seems to break down as they're trying to set up a dive in the top lane. It felt like that they were undecided as to what kind of play they wanted to make. Charm lands onto Sean.
Yeah, Sean going over-aggressive yet again. The Ignite is going to be there, though, and Cutie Bacon Piggy is going to fall in the 2v1 scenario. It is going to be Sean that's able to trade that kill back for his own life.
Yeah, that was a very clutch play coming out from Sean as more action kicks off in the bottom.
Yeah, Bartiano taking a huge chunk of damage there. Elements with yet another nice dredge line. He's doing a good job to land these hooks. But again, they just don't seem to win these trades. Jakamaka with a really nice boomerang blade, taking down the health bar of Byakko. And that is going to be pretty much just even Stevens down in this bottom lane. But the CS lead is pretty much the only story we have to talk about down here. 10 CS in favour of Byakko, but on the other side there's an assist in the hands of Jakamaka, and because of that the gold is almost exactly even.
You know, it's annoying that these guys keep fighting every time I try to break down the cool stuff that they're doing. You can see now that action coming out all across the map from both sides. In the top lane, big miscommunication. Raisins thought that they were going in. JB Dutch didn't think that they were going in. And as a result of that, Flash is able to pick up a nice kill. That means he's slowly working towards that Trinity Force. And once he gets that, JB Dutch needs to be a little bit careful because everyone knows that a Gangplank with any item is a terrifying champion to play against. Meanwhile, in the middle lane, Sean, once again, just being a little bit too overextended in the middle lane resulted in them handing a kill over to Team Paria, but Flash could be in some trouble.
Certainly could. The Gangplank ultimate, the Cannon Barrage there, gonna sort of delay this all-in coming out from JB Dutch, but it's not gonna delay it for long as he goes back in, but Flash is gonna be able to walk away on just 150 HP, and now JB could be in trouble. He's just used his cooldowns, but it doesn't matter. Flashes once again the body slam. We saw it happen to Raisins last game. This time it's happening to Wigo. People just getting away with those summoners.
Yeah, just very clutch plays between the two teams right now. It feels like a much closer game to what we saw in the last game, and I feel as though this largely is off the result of Wigo having a much better game. His pressure compared to what it was last game is significantly different. He's setting up ganks in the bottom lane, he's setting up ganks in the top lane, and he's actually getting rewarded for his ganks in the middle lane. So simply setting these up is making a huge difference to the laning phase of Team Paria. Meanwhile, a few overextensions and a few misplays coming out from TCA is allowing Team Paria to edge their way back in, and the small advantages that they're able to gain across the map is helping them out fairly significantly. They're doing a much better job of stalling out to the mid game compared to what they did last game, and it's nice to see this adaptation coming out from Team Paria. Right now, though, Sean goes very aggressive.
Yeah, Sean doing so well in that mid lane. Dodges out from the charm, lands the double chain. Can't quite finish off QT Bacon Piggy, though. Walking away on such low HP. And up in the top lane, we see it all kicking off as JB trying to escape. He's on 200 and a little bit HP, and he's going to go back in as one goes down. There's the wind slash, and that's going to be Wigo falling. Another kill into the hands of Sean 70. He can count down all the way from 3-2-1 right now on the scoreboard, and they're going to push towards this mid lane.
That was a great play coming out from the side of TCA. They knew that they had the numbers advantage because Sean and Bartiano were just hanging around the mid lane and already rotated up the moment that Wigo showed his presence in the river. And all Raisins and JB Dutch did was buy themselves some time. You see they didn't immediately try to turn around. They waited for their reinforcements to arrive. And speaking of reinforcements, goodbye Cutie Bacon.
Did you see the charm coming out from Cutie Bacon Piggy? Denied the mimic distortion coming out from Sean 17. Dodges the hook as well. That is a beautiful escape coming out from Cutie Bacon Piggy, and sort of denying the snowball from TCA. They have been sort of bullying him this game, and he finally gets a little bit of an answer back. Jakamaka just going to walk away from that one with on the hunt as Elmins tries once again to land those hooks.
That's very nice, though. Being able to burn that on the hunt means that Team Paria should be looking to take this tier 1 tower down in the bottom lane, and that would be a nice advantage for them, taking the first tower of the game. And not only would it mean that you can rotate Byakko and Elmins into these other lanes and use this great siege champion that is Tristana to look to try and take down a couple other towers all across the map, it just means that it's a better early game, and that's exactly what Team Paria need. They need to weather this storm coming out from TCA UK, because they just cannot afford to lose this game.
Cutie Bacon Piggy again. Every single time Cutie Bacon Piggy comes near the CS, Sean just almost one-shots him. Cutie actually going to use Spirit Rush just to try and get farm, and Sean is going to punish immediately. Gets the Ignite down, jumps back to his Distortion Pad, and now Bartiono is going to be the next one to fall as Elmins is traded straight back across. Support for support, but the TP has come out from JB, and Wigo is going to be the next one to fall. Wind Slash should be enough. In fact, doesn't even need to Wind Slash. They just finish it off anyway, and now they're looking for Byakko. JB is going to go in. There's the Wind Slash, and there's a double kill for JB Dutch Jones. 4-0-2 on that Riven, 4-2-2 on the LeBlanc. All of the carries are getting fed right now.
So this is much better communication. Yeah, they had a bit of a slip up in the top lane, but clearly that was just a slight blip. As you can see, the great macro plays coming out from TCA to immediately respond to that play made by Team Paria in the bottom lane. They turn that gank around. Sure, they end up losing Bartiono, but they end up getting 3 or 4 kills, as well as the dragon and the tower. So now they've extended that gold lead even further, and this really is a great show coming out from TCA. You've got to give great credit to Sean, being able to be so aggressive in the middle lane, draw so much pressure. But Flash...
Yeah, Flash is going to be going down here. There's the kill coming through for JB. Not a whole lot. He was in the shop as JB entered the lane by the looks of things, and he's going to be punished for that. And now, does have his TP available, but that might just have thrown away the TP advantage if he uses it here. But there's a fight going on. Bartiono incredibly low as Cutie Bacon Piggy trying to finally get a kill on the board, and he does. But now Sean gets charmed out, gets exhausted, but the chain lands. They can't quite finish off the Nine-Tailed Fox. He is going to go down finally, though, as Jakamaka flashes for the kill. Now Wigo body slamming away, but the Sonic Wave is going to find him. Reason's going to try and finish this one off. In fact, just going to donate that over to JB as well. 7-0-2 Riven. That is a terrifying prospect, and it's another 3-for-1 in favour of TCA.
TCA just responding so beautifully to the aggression coming out from Team Paria. Every time Team Paria try to make a play, it's immediate responsiveness coming out from TCA. And it looks like they're going to pick up another one.
That damage is just obscene coming out from Sean right there. In the meantime, tower is answered by Byakko, but what can you do when the enemy mid laner can just obliterate anyone on your team in just 2 seconds?
Buy lots of Banshee's Veils. But in reality, you just don't want to allow him to get to that point in the game, and they did a pretty good job, but it wasn't quite good enough. Raisins, though, takes a huge chunk of damage.
It does indeed, but he's going to be okay from that one. Bartiono going to look to try and finish off this one. Doesn't have flash or anything, though, so can't quite connect onto Byakko there. And TCA, they seem to have just flicked the go switch, and now they're just careering towards victory here. 8,000 gold ahead right now, and they're just looking to try and extend it further. Every single time we try and analyze anything, TCA have already started to make their next play.
And this is because they want to win this game. They want to be 2-0. They want to be at the top of the lower end of this bracket. They don't want to have to be the bottom seed coming into the relegation tournament. They don't want to have to go up against who we predict will be M&M. They want to hold their spot into the Premiership and come back next split with a stronger lineup, with a more practiced lineup, and somebody that can look to contest these top 4 teams. JB Dutch could be caught out right now.
Yep, of all of the champions to catch out in a 3v1 scenario, Riven, we've seen many highlight reels of that not quite going so well for the aggressors. But the Explosive Cask is just going to knock JB back to safety. He's going to be able to get away with that one. He's even looking to try and steal the Skull Crab. It is going to go over to Flash. In the end, skill shots galore missing in that mid lane. And now we just see Everybody trying to get into a position where they can make a play. Sean going aggressive. Look at the damage just from Q and then Mimic. The Sigil of Malice followed by the clone of it. That's already over half of Cutie Bacon's HP.
Yeah, and while all this aggression was going on in the middle lane, JB Dutch Owens gets forced super low up in the top. And Sean does get hooked up, but it does seem to be like just constant poking back and forth, but Flash looking for JB Dutch.
Yeah, he certainly is. JB Dutch, though, he's turning it around in the Wind Slash! JB Dutch owns. I mean, I don't even know what to say. That was absolutely ridiculous. Just turns it around, gets the Wind Slash down, surviving Gangplank's burst, and then just annihilating him.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what a 7-0 Riven can do. And that is why you should never allow a Riven to be 7-0. Unfortunately for Flash, he'd already used his Cannon Barrage earlier to try and pick up the kill into JB, and he had no Flash available to get out of that situation. And it was simply due to the massive itemization difference as well as the experience difference between the two players that resulted in JB Dutch Owens coming out ahead. And we talked about him being a massive carry. He's doing a great job this game.
He certainly is, and Elman's been caught up yet again. Raisins has been doing a fantastic job to manage to follow up his Sonic Waves after the flash, after the jump, after whatever escape comes out, making sure he saves that one. Cutie Bacon Piggy forced away once again by Sean 17. The Spirit Rush is going to be used here, trying to get some damage down, but just not really able to get anything to stick right now. And Sean 17, he's not far off finishing his death cap. That is going to be a terrifying power spike, but it is going to be Bartiono, who's in a bit of a sort of 1v3, but the explosive cast, yet again, does not quite find its mark.
If Wigo had used that explosive cast sooner, I feel as though they would have put Bartione in a situation where either he was forced to use his flash or he ended up losing his life. And that kind of shows the lack of experience that Wigo has on this champion. We've already talked about how he is sort of a substitute coming in for Team Paria. Jungle isn't really his primary role, and that lack of experience is really starting to hurt them coming into these mid-game engages. Unfortunately, the gap is just so big between the two teams that it's very difficult for Team Paria once again to work their way back into the game. And JB Dutch Owens really being the main headliner of this game, having such a dominant performance on this Riven, having such clutch TPs to spread that advantage all over the map. He's just playing so beautifully and really excelling TCA's already dominant performance.
Yeah, he certainly is. 8-0-2 right now on that Riven. He is looking absolutely terrifying to deal with, and just look how scared Flash is right now. He has to play so carefully right there, because the split second he oversteps, that's when JB will just go for the all-in tower dive, and he will pretty much one-shot that Gangplank at this stage. But now, Dragon looks to be the next objective that these guys want to contest. 1-0 in Dragons at just 23 minutes in the game. I mean, we said this last game, Dragon really hasn't been a primary objective for these guys, and that is going to be the second one taken out here for TCA, but I don't expect that to be anything like 5 Dragons by the end of it.
And On the Hunt does come out from TCA.
It does indeed. Wigo going to be caught up by the hook as we see JB knocked back by Tristana there. The Buster Shot is going to save his life for a little bit, but Elmin's going to be that sacrificial lamb. He's going to go down to save the rest of his team. But now TCA with the man advantage, they're going to look towards this mid lane. And in fact, with the positioning advantage they have, there's nothing that Paria can do to get to the mid lane. It doesn't matter though, because the fight's in the jungle. Byakko trying to jump away. He's been ignited, but Flash gets caught by the hook. Look at the damage coming out from Jakamaka. Crits him on down. And that is going to be all she wrote for the top laner. And now the middle lane tier 2 is going to be falling.
What a beautiful play coming out from the side of TCA to realise that they had the item advantage, the experience advantage, as well as the health advantage to continue being aggressive in Team Pariah's jungle. They picked themselves up 2 kills. A very nice hook coming out onto Flash means that they're in a great position to look to take this mid tower and propel their gold lead even further. Now it's going to be a matter of, can they close this game out?
Yeah,
They have a 12,000 gold lead. They have a massive itemization advantage, but their siege is actually very weak. The short range coming out from Jakamaka on this Sivir means that it's very difficult to get under these towers and actually get any damage down onto them. They need to set up for a pick, and they need to play around this vision. Sure, they've got a lot of great vision down in the bottom half of the map, but it's really Baron that they need to set up that vision for, because that's a much easier place to draw Team Paria into, and I feel like with the over-aggression tendencies that we've regularly seen come out from Team Paria, it's very easy to catch them out.
Yeah, speaking of catching out, JB has been caught. He's all on his own. He's still half HP, though, surprisingly. He's lasting a lot longer than I expected him to. Is going to get caught by that barrel, though. And that is going to be Cutie Bacon Piggy finishing off the kill. But the rest of TCA has arrived. They're going to go for this without the numbers advantage. This fight's all over as Biako is going to fall. In the meantime, we see Raisins. He jumps over the wall, but it's not going to be in time. Wigo getting the knock up onto Jakamaka now. They're trying to do what they can. The hook lands onto Flasher, and look at the crits coming out from Jakamaka. He gets one. He gets a second as well. Elmin's going to be the next target as the triple kill comes through. And there's the quadra kill. 2v4 from Bartiono and Jakamaka. Incredible play. And in the meantime, Sean just casually pushing mid.
And that was actually the unofficial pentakill for Jakamaka, the unseen hero of this game. We've barely talked about him, you know. We've mentioned how he has just provided the utility for his team, just been that staple AD carry down in the bottom lane. We didn't even notice how he was sitting at 4-0 and 4. Now all of a sudden he comes out in a 2 versus 5 scenario, ends up picking up all 5 kills, now sitting at 9-0 and 4, official quadra kill, unofficial pentakill. And they're picking up the first inhibitor of the game as Sean gets himself a cheeky kill on the way out.
Yeah, Biako just gets deleted there. Sean mimics forward. Oh, sorry, distorts forward. Q, mimic, E, dead. That is a simple kill picked up for him. Jakamaka, just to add insult to injury, going to take the red buff as he strolls away. He's going to be very happy with the official quadra kill, the unofficial pentakill. He's going to be very, very pleased with himself on that one. And JB, after getting caught out to start that all off, he's just sort of typing in chat, calculated, all planned.
It's just this matter of having talked to Sean, I was like, so where do you sort of like to invest your resources? Are you sort of a top-centered team? Are you a mid-centered team? And from what we see, he told me that they kind of divide their resources equally, and you can see that. JB, in the first game, it was all about Sean. In the second game, it was all about JB Dutch Jones. But now, all of a sudden, JB Dutch Jones gets caught. Jakamaka's time to shine.
Yeah, Sean incredibly low, but he's going to be able to distort away. Cutie Bacon Piggy caught out here as Sean trying to escape. On the hunt comes into play, and Cutie Bacon Piggy is deleted. Jakamaka, once again, just doing so much damage here as Sean picks up the second kill of the fight. But it's not over just yet. Flash is going to fall to get the double kill for Jakamaka. The chain lands onto Wigo, and that is going to be the fat man going down. One more auto attack will be the triple kill coming out for Jakamaka. And Biako, he's only just respawned, and he's not going to be able to do a whole lot here as the Nexus towers are being chunked on down. TCA, after a rocky start to the season, take a 2-0 victory against Team Paria and look incredibly strong towards the rest of the season.
What an amazing performance coming out from TCA. And the thing that impresses me the most is the carry threats coming out from every single lane. As I was saying, first game, Sean 17, it was all him. His calculated aggression, his great execution during the mid lane really propelled them to victory. Coming into the second game, it looked like it was the JB Dutch show with that 8-0 Riven, but he ends up getting caught out quite a lot, and Jakamaka's like, I got you, fam. He starts joining the fight. He gets himself the quadra kill, the unofficial penta, followed by the triple kill, you know, and looking at him, 14.5 thousand gold at the end of that game. His damage dealt was absolutely phenomenal, and the fact that there are just so many threats coming out from TCA really shows how, okay, they had a rough start to the season, but they can still aim for those top spots in this bottom half of the bracket.
Yeah, they certainly can, and I mean, they looked incredibly strong in that series, and honestly, I wish we could have seen this TCA earlier on in the series when they were against some of those higher teams. If they could have took a game off maybe Exertus, maybe Choke, then they would have been able to potentially look towards playoffs. Right now, they're looking towards high seeding in the relegation tournament. I believe, because they have already lost 4, that they, at this stage, cannot make it to playoffs. but
Yes.
I will double check that later. Well, apparently you have already double checked that, so they are just looking to get sort of first seed in the relegation tournament. But honestly, if they play like this as they head towards the promotional tournament, they are going to be able to make it back in for sure.
Well, my biggest concern for them is XL. And after seeing their performance against FM Esports last week, I think it's going to be a tough game for them, especially between the two top laners, Billy and JB Dutch. I think will be an exciting matchup, and I think that will be the big game for the teams in the lower bracket to determine who will fight for that first seed and who will take the second seed in terms of the lower bracket or the promotion tournament. But those games are still quite a way away, and this game though, TCA coming out incredibly strong. Team Paria just need to slow down. They play way too aggressive, and if they can fix that issue, I think they have a lot of potential as a team. But right now, sitting at the bottom of the bracket, every single win for them coming into the next few weeks is going to be ridiculously important.
It really, really is, and we'll see if they're going to be able to turn this into more wins, and if they can turn this momentum into something good for TCA. Regrettably, I have some bad news. Now, obviously, we've had our first series. 2-0 was the result in favour of TCA, if you've missed it. Our second series is meant to be infused up against Exertus, but unfortunately, neither team has been able to field a full roster today, so they have agreed to reschedule the game. If you check out the ESL UK Twitter, check us out on Facebook and everything, we'll be posting to let you guys know when the rescheduled game will be, if it's going to be broadcast. And I believe it will be broadcast from the League of Legends UK guys. I think they'll be taking that one for us. So, unfortunately, with that turn of events, that does mean that that was our last game of the day. We don't have a second series for you guys. So it is going to be goodbye from me and Vedius. Thank you so much for watching. It has been an incredibly eventful day. Any last little bits you want to say to the audience before we go, Andy?
Thank you very much, but we will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m, kicking things off with XL Esports playing up against the Null. So that is another bottom tier team, and following that we'll have FM Esports playing up against Choke. So we've got the bottom half of the table playing up against each other, as well as the top half of the table, who are largely going to be playing for seeding. So you're going to definitely want to check those games out, and that's going to be 2 p.m. GMT over on ESL_LOL_UK with myself and Munchables once again.
Yeah, absolutely is. So make sure you tune in tomorrow for that one at 2 p.m. We'll be there. Hopefully you will be too. We'll be able to get some more UK esports action. But that is going to be it from us now. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.